Welcome to Creating and Fueling Your Dream Project through Sponsorship and Collaboration, the June monthly meeting of Female Wave of Change Canada. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge you all for taking time out of your busy lives to be here. This evening, during a very interactive and engaging discussion, and it'll be more like a conversation for those folks who haven't been with us before, you're going to learn what sponsorship is and what it is not. You're going to discover both some practical tips and some tools to help you set up, create, and fuel a collaborative project. You're going to learn what can sometimes get in the way of successful collaboration. And finally, you're going to be able to identify some tangible next steps to help you create your dream project. So as mentioned, this is the monthly meeting of Female Wave of Change Canada. And we are part of a global social movement called Female Wave of Change that was started by Ingun Bol in the Netherlands about 4.5 years ago. And I'm proud to say that I am the ambassador. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pam Thompson, and I'm the ambassador for Canada of this amazing movement of women from around the world. And I'm also president of the recently incorporated nonprofit Female Wave of Change Canada. And so part of my role with the team is to build this community across the country. So we've got an amazing small team moving forward, and we're gaining momentum. So I'd just like to say that tonight we have a special guest with us, Ingun Bol, the founder. Ingun, do you want to open up and say a few words? We're very blessed. By the way, it's about 1:30 in the morning in the Netherlands. Ingun set an alarm to get up so she could join us here.
Yes, thank you, Pam. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I promised you before that I would join you. And I've been looking at all this activity in Canada. So I really wanted to be here and see all you beautiful ladies. And I'm surprised, where there's this strict, I also posted it in the USA group on Facebook. So I thought, well, maybe some people from the US will be joining, but there is a border there somewhere. But it's good to see you all. Yes, Female Wave of Change started 4.5 years ago. We're really, really happy to see what has been happening since. And it is our main, it's our vision to create a better world. And it should be more human, more connected, more sustainable, more, anything that you want. And we really believe that we need our authentic feminine leadership. We need our feminine values. We need our feminine energy to make that happen, because change is good. Rapid change is good, but we believed that the direction that we were heading in was not really good. So we wanted to change the direction. And that is why we believe we need our feminine energy and our feminine values. So been working hard over the past 4.5 years, and it's really a pleasure to see what is happening. A lot of women also have been doing our Women Leading in Change program online to really, it is a transformation journey for women to step into that authentic feminine leadership. And it's amazing to see what has been happening since. So Pam, really happy to join you. I'm not at my best in the middle of the night, so I'll leave the conversation up to you, all your knowledge. So the floor is yours, Pam.
Thanks so much, Ingun. Really appreciate you coming tonight and sharing a little bit more about Female Wave of Change. And as Ingun talked about authentic feminine leadership, and that we're all about increasing the number of authentic feminine leaders and creating a better world, a more conscious, equitable, just, sustainable, and peaceful one. You may be wondering what we mean by authentic feminine leadership, because people define it in different ways. And when we talk about it, we talk about qualities such as compassion, collaboration, creativity, emotional intelligence, inclusiveness, many qualities that are associated with the feminine. And we acknowledge that men, as well as women, can learn and demonstrate these qualities. And in fact, we do have some men in them as part of the movement. So we just like to say that we're really all about men and women together creating a better world. However, our focus is definitely on authentic feminine leadership and strengthening the authentic feminine qualities and values in our families, in our communities, and our workplaces and our businesses. So it's a big mission. And we also, in addition to the leadership development program that Inge talked about, which is a 3-month program that's delivered by faculty from all over the world. I happen to be honored to be one of them recently. And so that's pretty exciting. And we offer this about every quarter. And it's a 3-month intensive women, authentic feminine leadership, if you will, training program on change and leadership. So yes, what else can I tell you? The other things that we do is we do projects. We do events like this, monthly meetings. Our group does monthly meetings. We also have events, and we're going to be starting to launch projects in the fall. And our projects fall in one of five areas, pillar areas. And this pillar, when I talk about pillars, these came from a document that a group of us co-authored and sent out to leaders around the world in May and June of last year, called Reshaping the Future. And in that document, there are 5 pillars: economy, environment, education, health, and humanity. And so we're all about looking at how can we make a stronger social impact in the world in one of those 5 areas, in all of those 5 areas. So without further ado, so to speak, I would like to introduce our featured guest this evening. And her name is Charmaine Hammond, and I'm so excited she's joined us here tonight. And Charmaine also is one of our members. So we'd like to highlight our members in our monthly meetings, just so you know. Charmaine Hammond has been in the business of changing lives and raising dreams for more than 25 years through teaching the principles of collaboration, partnership, and sponsorship. As a certified speaking professional, one of the 12% of speakers worldwide who hold this designation, best-selling author and professional speaker, she's had tremendous success in finding corporate sponsors to fund her printing, graphic design, venues, travel, media, technology, hotels, even her pet food and dog poop bags. Through experiences like her speaking and book tour, Million Acts of Kindness, she's developed sponsorship relationships with hundreds of companies. Charmaine shares her unmatched speaking, sponsorship, and entrepreneurial experiences with business owners, nonprofits, authors, and speakers looking to expand the funding and the reach of their projects. Welcome, Charmaine.
Thank you. Excited to be with you all tonight and see some new faces, some familiar faces. So looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. So let's kick it off, Charmaine. Can you share with us a project that demonstrates the power of collaboration?
There is one that I love to share that demonstrates the power of collaboration. And this example actually originates out of Jasper, Alberta. And we call it the drop in the bucket story. So imagine in Jasper, there was a real need at the time that I met this group to actually have after-hour services available for teens and children and families. And there was only the organizations that were providing these services just had limited funds, and they could only sort of operate until end of workday. Yet the need existed long after the workday ended. So FCSS, Family and Community Support Services, which runs out of the municipality, pulled together what I would call a group of brilliant minds. That's what I would call this group. They pulled together people from education, from the nonprofit sector, from government, all 3 levels, from health, and said, you know, these are the community needs that have been identified through a community needs assessment. How do we look at this to fill these needs in the community? And what happened was something really, what I think is quite beautiful and magical. And around the table, all of these different partners started looking at, well, I have a 0.2 0.2 of an FTE. I don't even know what that is in hours. I just know you can't do much with 0.2 of an FTE. And I have a 0.5 and I have a this, and individually, none of them could solve the needs of the community with their 0.2 or their 0.5, or I have a venue that I can offer up. What happened is when they pooled their resources, which they called a drop in the bucket, they all put their drops in the bucket. And this funded a program for a long time that housed many full-time staff, and they actually had mobile services. The services went to the youth. And for me, that was an example of the power of collaboration when there's a need or an issue identified, and when people come together without necessarily the answer in mind. They came to the table open, and through their contributions, were able to solve the community issue and then some. And I've seen so many examples like that, Pam, where people have just pooled together and solved important issues.
Thanks so much for that, Charmaine. That's a beautiful example. And I really appreciate how you highlighted the fact that people didn't have an answer when they got around the table. Mm-hmm. And based on my own journey of working on collaborative projects, that is really key. Yeah. Because if you have the end in mind when you sit at the table, when you enter discussion, you're vested often in that your future vision. However, mm-hmm. the whole point of having a collaborative project is to have different people ideas, and you know, 3 heads, 5 heads, 10 heads are better than 1, right? Yeah.
And sometimes the best solutions that nobody would have thought of come out of that. I remember years ago, before I opened my own business, I was working in psychiatry in a hospital, and my role was program development, and the psychiatry unit was challenged with the task of looking at we had a real increase of mental health consumers coming to emergency department late at night and on the weekends. And it was being tracked, and it was a really noticeable increase. And so they wanted to solve the problem. And I got the wonderful opportunity to be that person. So they were starting to look at budget and changes. And I thought, well, let's first of all understand the problem, first of all, before we start to look at solutions, because sometimes it will work itself out. So I did consultations with all of the patients and their caregivers and the community. And what we determined, which was really cool, what we determined was that these were times that the individuals were lonely. They were missing human interaction. Their day programs had ended. Family were not available to them, whatever the reason. And so the one place that was always open was the emergency department. So that is where they went. And so, and what happened is when they showed up, they weren't always being treated in the way that could really help them, because the ER was busy with accidents and medical injuries. So what we discovered is upstairs on the 3rd floor, we had an incredible team of psychiatric nurses. And what if we just brought them down on the elevator to go and provide service? There was no increase in budget. The consumers were supported. This supported their case plan. It supported the staff in ER that were feeling torn between all of these patients that needed them in that moment. And it was a very dignifying process for the individuals and their families. And no, there was no budget needed. It just needed to be doing business differently. And all of these departments that normally wouldn't collaborate that way started working together and utilizing each other's resources. And those are some of the beautiful things that can happen when we just open our minds and agree to look at a problem together and solve it in a way that benefits the end users.
Thanks for that. And that segues nicely into our next question. What do you believe, Charmaine, are the essential elements or ingredients you need to create and fuel a successful collaborative project?
There's so many qualities and traits. I would say that one of them is really about commitment, interest, passion. Like that is so important for collaborations to work on. I think all of us on the Zoom screen tonight can all think of a time that you were involved in a project, or you sat on a board or a committee. It was some kind of a collaboration and you couldn't wait for the next meeting. like it inspired you, it energized you, your creative juices got flowing, you made beautiful relationships. And then you've all probably been on that other collaboration where you're looking for reasons not to show up, you know, hoping that an emergency of some sort will take your attention. You know, my computer crashed, I can't go to the meeting. And so we have these two sides of collaboration. So when I look at what are the qualities that make us want to put our running shoes and get to that meeting or get with those people, it's a lot of it is the personality makeup of the people in the room, the right fit of people in the room. I've seen some collaborations with amazing people. They're just the wrong fit for the project. And it really derails and it creates a sort of sideways movement. Commitment is really important because I can't tell you how many collaborations I have either gone in to mediate when I was a mediator, collaboration's gone bad. And what often happens is we choose to partner with people that are just like us because we like us. I know for me, I don't choose people anymore to partner with that are just like me because I know what my strengths are. I know what my challenges are, and I know where the project will stall. So you've got to have those differences, whatever those differences are. And the other piece that's really important, and it takes time to build, an essential element for successful collaborations is trust and clarity of why we are here. When there's not that clarity of why this project or what is this collaboration for, why are we working together? What happens is people spend a lot of time, it feels like what they tell me that we're spinning our wheels and we're never getting forward. And then that energy, just that sort of emotional energy in the group just derails the goodness that you're trying to achieve. So there's a lot of those personal, what I would call personal traits. And the other piece that's really important for collaboration, I think, is building those strong relationships. I think it's really important. Every collaboration that I've had, one of the foundations is that relationship. And I have participated in collaborations 25 years ago, and I still get the opportunity to work with some of those people on projects. And so when you build those strong relationships, I find that they serve you and your other projects in years to come. And I've seen that happen with sponsors too.
Thanks, Charmaine. Those are great essential ingredients based on your experience. What I'd like to do now is throw it out to the group because I know there's people around the table, so to speak, here that have a lot of experience doing collaborative work. So I'll just take maybe one or two shares.
Mm-hmm.
People got something to add to the list or to reinforce in terms of essential ingredients for successful collaborative projects. Anybody?
I just like to share something. Just when you use the word clarity, and for me, it's a why. Is understanding the why of it. Why are we here? What is the purpose? What is the end game for everybody? And everybody being on that same page. And once you understand your why, the how and the what becomes more organic.
Yes. Beautifully said, Hannah. I love the work of Simon Sinek, and he talks about the why. It is because otherwise you spend up all this time trying to find the how and you don't even know why you're doing the how. Thank you for raising that, Hannah. That's a real important starting point.
I don't know whether Kim had something to say. I know Yvonne does. Yvonne, do you want to share?
Yes, because I've been fortunate enough to have Charmaine as my mentor. I knew nothing about any of this, so grateful. And one of the things she taught me was the relationship thing is everything. And you can start small, start local, start with people that you do business with, right? That you already have a relationship and you can build on that. You don't have to go to the national organization first. Go to your local Staples or your hairdresser, and then that also helps you, get better at building those relationships and having those great, intentional, real conversations, right? From a place of passion. So yeah, Charmaine
Awesome.
is the guru.
Aw, thank you, Yvonne.
Starting small, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, whether it be relationships or projects, it's always good to build on small successes, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
I have Susan, I'd like to, can I add a partnership that I've been in for 5 years? And something I have learned over the 5 years is you can be 5 feet from goal. Don't give up. There, I work with a very local West Shore Recreation Center, and I do glass workshops as part of my business. And I get much broader reach of possible clients by having the advertising done for free with their partnership through their activity calendar. But there were a number of times where it was we had to cancel the program, not enough people. And I just hung in there and said, let's try next time. Let's get that one person that had to be canceled and put them into the next one. And I didn't give up. And now I'm sold out ahead of time and I can't keep up. So it's, and also I discovered through the process that seniors pay less, therefore I get less if a senior comes to a program. You know what? That's okay. It surprised me, but I just said, that's fine. Let go of the money, just keep the relationship going, keep the partnership strong, and keep your vision. And the seniors are welcome, and I'm oversubscribed.
Good for you. That's a lovely story, Susan. Thanks for sharing it. And I think, so don't give up. And the other piece is, I think, believing in the power of collaboration. Because many of us, I don't know about, I think a lot of you maybe have experienced when you were younger, maybe in elementary or secondary school, you'd be on these group projects and you end up being the one, like people will say they're going to do something, you end up being one or two of you out of 5 would do it all, right? But the group would get it. So until you actually experience a really positive collaborative experience, I mean, it didn't happen to me until I worked for the federal government. I chaired a national strategy. Then we had amazing partners and it went really well. But before that, I thought, I'd rather do this myself. So I really, truly believe that believing in the power of collaboration, which is part of what Susan said, don't give up, believe that together you can produce something better than you can on your own, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Some great shares. Thank you. So this is a bit different. Charmaine, what do you think, based on your vast experience, can get in the way of successful collaboration?
Oh, there's so many things that get in the way. I'm one of them, and this kind of goes back to my years and years of being a mediator. And I used to facilitate when projects went sideways or off the rails, collaborations went sideways. And I also, at the same time I was mediating things going sideways, I had a contract with all 3 levels of government who partnered and hired me to be their community partnership enhancement facilitator. And I had that contract for 4 years. So I was on these 2 ends of the spectrums, building these incredible community collaborations. And then with this other side of my life, facilitating and mediating when collaborations went sideways. So some of the things that get in the way, ego often gets in the way, hidden agendas, when people come to the table for the wrong reason or don't declare the reason. And I actually used to have an exercise, kind of getting back to what Hannah said about your why. That would be one of the opening exercises I would do, getting people to voice out loud why they are participating in this. So those were a couple of things, but the biggie, I will tell you that every collaboration that when I was a mediator, I had to work with them to resolve, and collaborations that I've been a part of or led and there were issues, it came down to communication and conflict were 2 of the biggest reasons. Because when you think about a collaboration, you're often working with a group of people that's a brand new relationship. So you haven't had the time to test each other out and learn how you each communicate or respond. And the communication difficulties can become very prevalent. And for many people, in fact, most people, conflict is highly uncomfortable. So what happens is a lot of issues start to go underground and it takes the project sideways or the collaboration. So I think when I look at what has been maybe most costly or harmful to collaborations, it's when communication has broken down and not gotten fixed, or when conflict was avoided or not addressed well, because I've seen, people leave a collaboration and actually leave relationships. And that to me is just a heartbreaking, when you have these incredible people. And the way that the collaboration happened broke a relationship. So the project suffers, the relationship suffers, and the whole group suffers. So those are some things that we want to definitely avoid because they can be damaging.
Yeah, one of the things when you were talking about the conflict and the communication, are you familiar with, you probably are, partnership charters?
I
Because
love it. Yeah.
yeah, and one of the pieces is you create them when you're working with different partners.
Yeah.
And one of the pieces, as you know, is about conflict resolution. So as part of your charter, you say that basically you want to nip conflict in the bud, and this is what you do if it happens,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
So that you talk about how you're going to deal with it at the very beginning, so that if it happens, you know, you can mediate it really quickly, right?
Oh yeah, it's so important. And then if you look at collaborations that are actually a sponsorship arrangement where you're working in collaboration with a sponsor on a project, for example, boy, if there's a breakdown, it can have a dramatic impact on the project, on the funding to that project. So it is so important. And I love those charters. And even when I've worked on projects that I've had sponsored, those are often the conversations that we talk about, is how are we going to communicate together? How do we want to, what are our expectations of each other if something changes in this project or changes in the plan? And the construction industry is a great example. They have a partnering approach. And before they go into a project, they actually talk with all the stakeholders, the builders, all the tradespeople to look at if things go off the track, or if challenges happen in this project, what can we all expect of each other? How will the issue get solved? And then when you talk about it in the beginning, if it happens, it's so much easier to deal with.
Totally. Great. I'd like to throw the question out to one or two people as well in the group. So anything you'd like to add to this discussion about what can get in the way of successful collaboration? We've talked hidden agendas, ego, conflict, not communicating effectively. Anybody want to share something else? Liza?
I'm happy to share, as someone who's in 5 collaborative projects as we speak. For me, the biggest thing is getting clarity right up front. Right, it's the partnership agreements, the collaborative agreements, the role agreements. When you have those worked out up front, it makes everything else go smoother. And I've been in the collaborative processes where we haven't done that up front. And I liken it to jumping out of a plane and putting your parachute on the way down. Right, put your parachute on while you're in the plane, because that's when you're going to get the most protection. So I'm just literally working through 2 of those right now, where we're like today, writing up our agreements, writing up what our roles are, getting things ironed out, so that when you have that conflict, you go back to the things that you agreed on right up front and you say, this is what we agreed on, right? This is now we can adjust that if we need to, but going into this, knowing what we knew at the time, this is what we agreed to. So that's where that's always the starting point, is where did you originally start? What did you agree to? And what needs to change, if anything, from there.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks for that share. And the roles and responsibilities piece is key. I think you added to that discussion, because if people don't know what they're doing and why they're there, like, you can know your why, but if you don't know who's doing what when, right?
Yeah.
It can go awry as well. Did anybody else have a share before we move on? Jan, you're muted. Woo. You're muted, Jan.
Again, left reading.
It happens.
The whole thing about where things can break down, and the importance of having an open mind and listening to what the other person wants in it, to create the win-wins, are really about meeting what their needs are. And I'll give an example of Shakespeare Festival, Bard on the Beach, that I worked with for many years. And one day a law firm called in to make a donation. And I said, a donation is a great one-way gift of money. Give me 15 minutes with your managing partners to learn about what your needs are. And they're like, you're turning down our donation. And when I went and listened, what they needed was, first of all, that they needed to have employee loyalty building, because law firms spend all this money with young barristers that come in and then they end up getting snatched up by someone else. So long story short, when they talked about the need for hospitality, blah, 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 the next day I went in with a copy of The Merchant of Venice for all the young barristers to read, to become familiar with at a continuing education class the next day. And they thought they'd have to do a test on memorizing. But in fact, it was a test on how lawyers need to have many of the same skills as an actor does, where they have to read and memorize, make eye contact with the members of the jury or the audience, how to have your voice project with a bit of confidence. And those young lawyers that were just new articling with the firm ended up staying with them, and the firm made a multi-year 6-figure deal instead of a very small donation one time, as a result of listening to what their needs are. And so when you're partnering or collaborating, really find out what it is that they're looking for.
Great, great story. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
true.
Okay, then. So let's move on then, unless someone had something burning they wanted to contribute. Are we good? Okay. So Charmaine, what do you believe is the most important quality you can bring to a collaborative project?
You know, I think bring you. I see a lot of times people come to a collaboration and who they are is not how they show up. And it creates a bit of well, it creates distrust. Yeah, it slows the relationship. So bring your version of you to the table. If you're dealing with corporate sponsors, that is so important as well. I talk to corporate sponsors all the time on different projects, and one of the things that I think is so critical for us all to hear, I had this twice this week, a sponsor say, Charmaine, I don't know what this collaboration, sponsorship, whatever it is we're going to do together is going to look like. I don't know what our contribution is going to be, but I know that we're going to be involved. The passion you have for this project, your commitment, that's the kind of project we like to get behind. And so, you know, I showed up as me and had that clarity about the project. And what was really important to them was the passion. And so I said, so I said to this individual, what is it you often experience? Because they were quite, excited about this. And they said, often they experience people coming to the collaborative table to just pitch them. Don't have a relationship. So it's sort of like when Jan just mentioned a moment ago about finding what's important to people. That is so critical, whether it's a collaboration on a project or if taking that collaboration one step further to a sponsorship type arrangement. So bring your best version, be passionate about, and you know what, I think the other one would be, Pamela, is be open to learning. Be open to learning that sometimes what you think the best solution is may not be it at all. I have just had so many opportunities where I think I've got it figured out. And then when I let people just talk, when I get quiet and let them talk, it's like, holy smokes, this outcome is way bigger and way better than I could have ever imagined. And so when you let people show up in the collaboration, really cool things can happen.
I love that. And that reminds me, there's a woman, an organizational theorist, Barbara Gray, and you may have heard of her. Anyway, she wrote a book like a long time ago, and she's an organizational theorist and seasoned negotiator. And she likens a collaboration, a successful collaboration. She uses the metaphor of a kaleidoscope. And and so the different colored pieces of glass in a kaleidoscope are the different stakeholders around a multi-stakeholder collaboration. And when you turn a kaleidoscope, I sometimes have one beside me, but I don't have one right now. You turn it, and of course the image changes every time, right? And that is the power. You're creating something new. And when you work together with people who get along and bring their best selves to the table and do all those other things we've talked about so far, it's just so creative and it's so beautiful because the image is constantly changing based on who brings what to the table and how the perspectives view it and change it, right?
I love that analogy. I'm visual, so I could see that when you were talking about it.
Thanks. Okay, so tell us about what sponsorship is and what it is not.
Okay,
I'm sure a lot of people are just chomping at the bit in response to this.
So I love how you frame that question because, you know, first of all, a lot of times people think sponsorship is just something that can be provided to nonprofit organizations and to charities, and that's actually not the case. I am a very for-profit business. I also have a charity, my own charity, but I have been really successful in having corporate brands come on to partner and sponsor a number of different things. So sponsorship, at the end of the day, I would define it as a marketing relationship. The companies that you are partnering with that are sponsoring something, whether it's an event, whether it's sort of the example that Jan gave, they're coming on board because there's a fit, likely because you have an audience that's of interest to them, or that your project aligns with their mission and values. That's really important. And for many, many companies, they're saying yes because there is some marketing value for them, that your project, your event, your initiative actually helps solve some of their marketing issues. So when I think about it, and for corporate sponsorship, because there's, you know, funds that come out of philanthropy, but when we talk about corporate sponsorship, you know, how our sponsors define it to us is they say, these are funds that are coming out of our marketing budget. So we could spend these marketing dollars on, and remember the old days of yellow page ads? I don't even know if that's still a thing, but they could spend yellow page ads. I'm just dating myself, sorry. Or they could spend it on digital campaigns. They could spend it on going to trade shows. They could spend it on direct mail. They could spend it on swag, all these different activities to market their business. Sponsorship is one of those activities. And what I hear from so many sponsors I deal with is that what they like about it is that collaborative effort where they are helping you or your project or your cause or your initiative, and you are helping them. So there's this what I love to call the cycle of reciprocity. What it is not, let's talk about that. I'm so glad you asked that question, because what it is not is it's not free money. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, go get sponsorship. It's free money. It's not free money. It's not free money. It's also not a handout. And this is really important. I had a really good conversation a few weeks ago with a corporate brand, and they were saying that when I asked them sort of what are the projects you say yes to? I can't remember how I exactly asked the question, but you know, how do you decide in the course of a day when you've got 25 people pitching you? Who do you decide to phone back, and how do you make your yeses? What is important to you? And they said, whether it's a nonprofit organization or a charity or a for-profit business, when people are coming to that conversation with that energy of it being a handout, or like you are a solution, or like scarcity or desperation, it's a real turnoff for them. And I remember years ago when I worked in the nonprofit sector, that was my whole job almost, was getting funds for this organization. Nobody told me that before I took the job, so I had to learn the hard way. But I remember having a sponsor comment. They came into the shelter that I was running, and they were looking around at everything. I thought, wow, I feel like I'm like being super observed here. And he commented on how nice the furniture was in the waiting room. Because when I started the job, I got rid of all this icky furniture that had duct tape on it. It was the old government issue chairs. Remember the lime green and the orange with the wooden handles? It was that, and then duct tape wrapped around it. And I thought, this is not I don't ever want a sponsor to see this, because to me, it looks like this is a sinking ship. And why would a sponsor ever want to support that? And that's pretty much what the sponsor said. He said, thank you for the changes you made to the waiting room, because I now feel like our funds are being well used. And I feel that what you've created just with a change of furniture is so in line with our values. And so that's really important to know, that it's not a handout. And then how you talk about sponsorship is very important. And it is a relationship. It's not sort of a phone somebody up and pitch that you've got the best project, the best initiative. You've got to do exactly what Jan said a few minutes ago. You need to spend time with them and learn about their business, learn about what's important to them, learn about their objectives. And we call that discovery calls. And, you know, sometimes it can take many, many discovery calls. But when you take the time to do that, I just see amazing results from that.
Thank you so much for that, Charmaine. The business that you just talked, that what it is not, corporate sponsorship is not, the stuff about a free handout. And, you know, it's sort of, when you think about it, you realize that most collaborative partnerships have to be aligned with people's mission and vision and values. But this bit about the perspective of thinking it's a handout and it's not a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's that's really important. And I think based on what you're saying, it's like, it's partly the energy that you're bringing to the table, right?
That's exactly
Because
it.
a lot of people, times it's not what you say, it's the energy and what you're projecting, right? When you're in the room with them or on the call with them, whatever you're doing. So thank you for that. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Pamela, when you talk about that energy, that even if you don't say something, it just permeates into the conversation. I remember picking up the phone one time at dinner time. We all get these calls of somebody asking us for sponsorship. And so they talked about, we've got the best program. I can't even remember what it was, the best program, and you would be the perfect sponsor. So in my head, I'm saying, how do you know that? Like, I'm a phone number to you. And then they went, and I said, how do you know that? I asked, oh, well, and then they started making stuff up. It was crazy. But the person continued talking. And then when I was saying, this is not actually how we make our sponsorship decisions, you know, we have a process that we follow, then he got agitated with me and really started pushing back. I was learning a lot in the moment about what it was like to be on the other side of the table. And then he came from that place that you just described, Pamela, scarcity and handout. And then he said, well, if you can't give us whatever it was, $5,000, give us 500, give us 50, give us $5, give us something. We need your help. And I thought, like, I don't want to give money to what feels like a sinking ship and coming from scarcity. And you're exactly right. And that's what that sponsor was getting at around the furniture in the waiting room. So you really want to be careful about what you're not saying, how it's coming across to people. So believe in your projects, and there will be sponsors that will resonate with it, and there will be sponsors that will not resonate with it because what you're doing is not part of an alignment. Like, there are companies who decide we're only going to sponsor environmental projects. There are companies that say our big area of priority is breast cancer or children's literacy. Businesses have their priorities, but as Jan so beautifully said, you need to take time to find out what that is from them.
Some great tips for us all. So this is a bit of a different question, Charmaine. What happens when we share our dreams with others?
Oh, I got goosebumps when you asked me that. You know, what happens when you share your dreams with others is that you actually provide opportunity for people to get involved. I have learned through working with thousands and thousands of projects and groups and people in collaborations and teams that the majority of people really want to help. Like, when somebody's on a project, people want to help and be a part of something. And when you don't let people know your dream, there isn't a way for them to offer up. And I was one of those people that didn't want to share my dream, or years ago with the earlier version of me. I worked through this learning, but I used to actually be afraid of sharing my ideas in case somebody took it and ran with it first. And that held me back from so much. And then when I resolved that little big issue in my thinking pattern, things opened up. And I discovered that when you share your dreams with people, the people that you need to meet start to come into your life. It's been my experience with every single project I've worked on, every project I've loved. When I share my dreams, the right people show up.
That's beautiful. And I just wanted to say here, that's what happened with Incan in Female Wave of Change. He founded this
Beautifully said.
organization and changed her profile on LinkedIn and thought it was going to be an organization for the Netherlands. And all
Yeah.
these women from different parts of the world got in touch with her and said, "Oh, this sounds awesome. How can we get involved?" Right, Ingrid?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's beautiful. So as we move
Can I
forward-
share? Can I share?
Certainly.
Is that okay? Well, I want to come back to that sponsorship because that is for us was very important in the beginning, especially for Female Wave of Change.
Right.
You know, you are looking for money when you start up a project like this, and especially when it becomes way bigger than you expect it to become. What we tried, I think the first 6 months is talk with a lot of people, and you know, the passion was there, and we had great conversations. But the issue for me was when we did have those conversations, the other side of the table, so the sponsor, you know, they were willing to give us some sponsoring, but then I had to change the logo, I had to change my mission, I had to change my objectives. You know, everything had to be different before they would hand us the money. And then I felt, you know, if this is a conversation that I'm going to have every year, because most of them, especially at that time, they were willing to donate something once, and then we had to go through that process again the next year. And I thought, well, this is not the way I want to do this, because this is an organization that I feel is really, you know, the logo, the mission, you know, the objectives, is everything that we think it should be. So we started thinking creative, and said we don't want to work with sponsors. We want to create our own sustainable income streams, and that is how we have been working since. So we started looking at it from more, and we started treating it as a business, and said, well, we need that income stream so that we are not dependent on any other organization from outside who will be willing to give us the money under many you know, and only when we wanted to change a lot of things. And that for us was unacceptable.
Yeah.
Is that something that you recognize?
Yeah, thank you for raising that. Oh, I'm so deeply grateful that you raised that, because you've just put a highlighter. Like I just saw a yellow highlighter as you were speaking, and I was thinking, you know, this is a highlighted how important it is that we choose, that we find those right partners, because that's a great example of, you know, partners who really almost need you to change your business model and your business identity. To me, that just says that's not the right fit. Then when you've got, you know, the other side of the table, and it's this partner that just so gets what you're doing and just so sees the integrations. Here's how we can help you. And they don't expect you to change anything. In fact, they want to amplify what you're doing. They're going to bring other resources to the table. I just had that experience last week, and I just thought, you know, that was an example of the right partner. And often in the process of finding the right partner, we end up meeting people who we think this could be a great partnership opportunity. But as we learn more about each other's brands, maybe it's not a fit, and that's okay. That's totally okay. And we have to be okay with that. It's like in Raise a Dream, Rebecca, my amazing business partner, who I know some of you know from the island, when we met, we realized that we've been doing the same thing for years, and Rebecca is very, very good at taking like abstract ideas and putting them into something simple. That is not my strength. So she took what we both do in sponsorship and created a seven-step process, which is our Raise a Dream process. And what you have just pointed out is that very beginning steps about how important it is for us to identify some of our dream partners or partners we might want to work with, and then to research them, to do that fit, and then to make sure that you're so clear on what are your own priorities, like what are the things you could change and what are the things that are not negotiable. So important, because then you can, you know, make those decisions quicker. And before we, you know, connect with these sponsors, which is step 2. The third step is we need to have those discovery calls. And often we're, you know, this is a great example you just shared about the more conversation you're having with them, the more demands there was on you, and the more it was not feeling like a good fit. And out of that, you created like a really cool way to exist as an organization and fund yourselves.
So Charmaine, I didn't want to go there yet, but I'll
Yeah.
ask you whether, while you're talking about it, if people want to get that 7-step process,
Yeah,
how do they do that? And maybe,
sure.
maybe Barb can put it, or one of my team can put it in the chat box.
You betcha. On raiseadream.com, on the homepage there's a little sign up, and you can sign up, and there's our ebook in there. It's a free ebook, and it's got the 7-step model. And then on our webpage, I'll have to get you the link, Barb. I will do that after the call. But we also have a little video that Rebecca and I had that we did together about turning collaborations into cash relationships. So it kind of gives some examples of this model in action. So I'll get that link for you as well.
Thank you, Charmaine. Liza, I see your hand. If I take you, it has to be really quick, because I want to, we're getting tight for time, and I want to ask Charmaine one more question. Are you?
That was from ages ago. I just forgot to take it down.
I wanted to acknowledge you. Anyway, so thank you. Okay, so Charmaine, as we move forward as Female Wave of Change Canada and launch our first collaborative project in the fall of this year, what are some tangible next steps we should keep in mind or put in place?
I'm going to go back to a few of you have said this already, having that clarity. So, you know, as you start to look at that project, making sure that the project is clear, that people understand it the same way, that you talk about the values and vision. I've heard a couple of you mention that, the values and the vision of the project. I think it's also important to talk about what people can bring to the table. So in terms of their skill set, or in terms of their commitment. And I'm not talking financial commitment. I'm here, commitment could be, I'm willing to show up twice a month for this meeting. And taking time to build the relationship with those that are going to be involved in the project. The other piece is when you have a project and you're communicating it to the world, I find it so helpful to work together as a group collaboratively to determine the messaging, how people talk about it. What I have seen be catastrophic in collaborations is we all talk about the project differently, and we use different words, and then people get confused, and it actually doesn't serve the project well. So those would be a few tips I would offer.
Okay, so clarity, so people understand what you're talking about, sharing your values and vision, what people can bring to the table. One way I've found really helpful to do that is to ask at the front end, what do you hope to receive from the partnership, and what do you have to give? So it's given.
Great question.
Right? It's simple wording, but it gives you a lot of information. And take time to build a relationship and ensure consistency. That is so important in terms of verbiage, what you talk about. If I speak it one way and you speak it another way, it sounds like it's not the same thing. It's not such a good idea, right? And Christina O'Reilly, who's our comms and PR person, who's recently joined us on the board, she's helping us to get into gear in terms of having common messaging, because that's something we want to have in place as well, right? Anyway, so if people want to get in touch and learn more about you, Charmaine, what's the best way to do that? You shared how to get your information, but share a little bit more.
Yeah, you can reach me through Raise a Dream. I do all my own emails. So when you're emailing, it comes to me and it is me responding. You're also welcome to message me on Facebook or whatever social media you use. I do all my own social media as well. So it's actually me that's conversing with you, and happy you can certainly share my email with people as well. I can probably just type it in the chat box for you.
So Charmaine's going to stay with us.
Yes.
So we'll say the thank yous at the end. So now what we have for you is a breakout. And just for you folks who it's your first time, we do at least one breakout every monthly meeting to provide an opportunity for you to network and meet people from across the country, and also for you to continue on doing a small mini group exercise to carry this forward. So Barb, our very capable secretary, Barb Eady, is going to do the technical bits around, I know I have to make you a co-host, Barb, but before you do that, so she's going to do the technical bits and I'm going to explain what we want you to do. Okay, so you're going to be in groups of 3, and you're going to have a total of 10 minutes in your group, 3 minutes a person, basically, and a little bit of, give in there. And we'd like you to choose a timekeeper and start with the person with the longest hair, so you don't have to think about it. Each person state their name and a bit about themselves, just a couple sentences, because 3 minutes isn't a whole lot of time. And then what we'd like you to do is imagine that you're creating a local or regional project, an environment in the environment area. So an environmental project broadly defined, okay? So think about that and note that small is beautiful. So it's just to provide some context for you all. So think about a local or a regional environmental project that you want to create or you want to be part of. So answer 2 questions. What types of people in terms of backgrounds, skill sets, and personality traits would you be drawn to collaborate with and why for this particular project? So does somebody want to type that in the box for me? What types of people in terms of backgrounds, skill sets, and personality traits would you be drawn to collaborate with and why? And are there organizations that come to mind who might be potential partners? So any organizations that come to mind that might be potential partners. Everybody clear what we're doing here? We're good? Okay, so I'd also like one person to volunteer to take some notes, because when we come back again together, I want people to share the key elements or the key stuff that came out of your shares. Okay, everybody good? So go, Barb. 10 minutes for everybody in the groups. And a minute, usually it's about a minute to get in and a minute to get out. Here we are again. You're on mute, Barb.
Hi there. Okay, I'm just looking at the rooms. Some people might have left the call because in some rooms there's 3 and some people there's 2.
Okay, well they'll figure it out. That's all right.
Yeah.
So we're 2, so we're going to answer this question.
Okay.
So when you think about an environmental project, you've got the longest hair, so I guess you're going to go first for what types of people. I guess I don't know whether I can take notes. Let me grab some paper. I can take notes. So what types of people? So because I know you can't have to keep track of the 10-minute thing. So what types of people in terms of background, skill sets, and personality traits would you be drawn to collaborate with and why?
What types of people would I be drawn to collaborate with and why? Well, again, those who have a different skill set than I do. It's like Charmaine mentioned, I think it's wonderful to work with like-minded people, meaning you share the passion, you share the vision, but each person has their special zone of genius, as I like to say. And yes, you can delegate things to different people with different skills. And people who think differently than you too. And when I say that, I mean, you have a different perspective. We'll offer, again, some kind of wild idea or creative solution you might not have thought of. So and sorry, but was it specifically about the environment?
Yeah. What types of people in terms of background, skill sets, and personality traits would you be drawn to collaborate with?
Yeah. I think I answered the question. Did I?
Different skill sets than you do. It's wonderful to work with like-minded people who are passionate about. And the last one, I didn't quite get it all.
People who have a different point of view in terms of a creative solution that I might not have thought of.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. And are there organizations that come to mind who might be potential partners?
Again, this is an environmental project.
It is, yeah.
I immediately what comes to me are sustainable companies, sustainable businesses, B Corps. Do you know what B Corps are?
Yeah.
B Corps come to mind. And again, starting local, you never know. Thinking outside the obvious environmental connections. Yes, maybe your hairdresser has a passion for the environment, or someone you do business with in some other field. Doesn't mean they may not be passionate about the environment.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
start small. Go ahead. Now you.
So yeah, you got a bit of time left, but I'll cancel this and I'll put on 3 for you. We're gonna have a little bit more time, but anyway. So what type of people in terms of background, skill sets, and personality traits would I be drawn to? Yeah, well, I concur with what you said about people from different backgrounds to myself, but also subject matter experts, people who know a lot about climate change, for example, right? If it's an environment, I'd want some people with subject matter expertise, about climate change or something related to the environment. I'd also want people who are obviously passionate and committed to doing something to improve the environment. People who were ready to allocate the time, because they can't be so busy that they can never make your meetings, right? So that they're committed. So I want people who are committed to the cause and committed to what it would take to move it forward, right?
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, people who are flexible, and people who are ideally good listeners, because you don't want, it's not really helpful if somebody wants to grab the spotlight all the time, right? You need people who are good listeners as well as sharers, right? And they're conscious of group behavior and what's good group behavior and what's not so good group behavior. You want the ones who are don't take all the airtime and let other folks have a chance too, right? It also is really helpful to have a neutral facilitator if you can have that, because then they don't have to compete with sharing content, but they can suggest processes and guide the group through the processes and record stuff rather than having people in the group having to do it. So that's also really helpful. Organizations who come to mind, I'm thinking the big boys and girls, Sierra Club, I don't know, who's the ones? I also think, because I'm all about kids, as you are, you like kids as well, big brothers, big sisters, because I think it's really important to have kids involved in the environment and environmental cleanup. It could be, you could have some university students who are from a marketing program at a university, or who had to do as part of their dissertation, they were doing something on the environment, they were doing stuff on sustainability, and they might want to do a project so they could contribute time and energy.
That's a great idea. Young people, like college age.
Yeah, college
internship. It's like an internship.
Yeah. How much time do we have left, Barb?
We have 3 minutes, but I'm going to about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to hit having them come back, because it takes a minute to bring everyone back.
But I just want to make sure if they've got 3, because we only had 2 people, that they have a chance for all 3 people to share. So they were supposed to.
All right. So I will wait until. So we've got just over 2 minutes, and then I'll close the room, meaning call them.
Okay, great. What else? Is there anything else I wanted to say? I don't think so. Good listeners.
I can also send them a message and say about 2 minutes left.
Or maybe it's not that much. It's 1 something now, isn't it? Or what? It's up to you. You got some time.
It's two and a half. About 2 minutes left. I'll put it.
Great. Thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, which is what I shared in the larger group, is believing in the power of collaboration. Because if you don't believe that in a group you can come up with more creative solutions than you can alone, it's not going to work, because you bring that energy in and you're trying to convince people about what you think is the best way to do it, right? Have you ever been in groups like that?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to effective communication, doesn't it?
It does, but it's also the energy that you're bringing. Because
Yes.
if you've already done a lot of thinking about it and you feel like you've got the solution, then it's really hard for you to be totally open and listen to others, because you've done so much pre-work and you're vested in this solution that then you go to, I want to share it with everyone.
Right.
And not to say you're not going to share it, but it needs to be part of an understanding that it's a piece. It may be a puzzle piece, it may be a big piece. However, it's a piece, and other people also may have some really good pieces that'll make it
Right.
better.
Right. Yes. Okay, I have, did I not set this for the right time? I'm looking at the clock on the breakout rooms.
Yeah, no, but that's not right, because it's going for 15. Remember you said it was going for 15? Yeah.
Okay, that's why thank you for that reminder.
No worries. No
Because it
worries.
says 5, so we've been going for, I'm going to call people back now because it'll take them a minute to all get back.
That's awesome, Barb. Thanks.
Thanks for the reminder.
No worries.
Yeah, they've been given 60 seconds to come back now.
Great.
Got it.
Great.
Yeah, see, boom. There we go. There's my timer. Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you. Oh, hush, hush. Stop. There we go.
We just had somebody join us. That's odd, Barb. We're supposed to be going back to you. Yvonne, did you not have a group?
I just can't. There's my group. We just got kicked back.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what happened there, because we're supposed to come back to the set. So you didn't have a group? Aw.
Well, it was the two. I was perfect. We had a wonderful conversation.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, we're all supposed to be going back now to the main room. Nice to see you both.
We had a great conversation. We just got punted early.
Good. So here we are. Okay, so everyone's coming back here. So we're in the
good. Now here we go.
Everybody should be back to the main session. Is everyone coming back? Is everyone back?
I think so. Yeah, we had 18 going in. I think we lost a few people.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed and have some great discussion. So you go, Barb. It's your thing to debrief now.
Right, everyone. So yes, hope you had a good discussion around the kind of people you would like to collaborate with and why. And now we'd just like to invite everyone to share, maybe one person in the group, just some of the key takeaways or things that you discovered. Who would like to share what came out in the breakout room? Anybody? All right, Yvonne, go
the keener. Well, I mean, just to start, I think just to get when you're brainstorming, I think if you just looked at any organization that says sustainable or green or organic, all of those, right? I think that just right off the bat gives you a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Start with the obvious, exactly. Like, or the simple. Beautiful. Okay, anyone else have something they'd like to share? Liza?
Sure. Hi, Barb.
Hi,
Nice to see so many familiar faces. How cool is this?
Yes.
So Ashley and I were chatting, and it turns out she's an event planner, and of course that's my background. So yes, talking about holistic and events and intersectional and bringing things together. I mean, she's got things that she wants to do with, we were talking about what's going up in Fairy Creek right now. And so it's not just about the trees, it's about the Indigenous population, and it's about, what nature's bringing to us, and why can't people, understand what's going on. And we didn't kind of get a chance to finish the conversation, but sometimes you have to go to who you think is the enemy, right? Because you got to get on the inside to be able to create that change. So that was one of the things that we were talking about. And then, yeah, for me, I mean, having a property up in Souk that I didn't think I was going to have, and having farm animals. And I just got approached from the choreographer and former director of Cirque du Soleil, and she wants to do outdoor nature shows and bring all of the dancers from around the world to Souk to do like a Western training center. Like how the hell does that happen, right? So
Wonderful. Great. So
yeah.
great. So I love that, back to thinking outside
the box,
but outside the solutions that or answers that could be something that you never envisioned, but using events to collaborate with similar organizations or people with different passions. And also I like what you said about back to getting to know what the sponsor may want, but even the other side. I mean, you said enemy, but really it's just the other perspective, right? And how you can work with both sides. Fabulous. Who else would like to share? Christina.
Hello, everyone. So we talked about one of the ways we can do this is bring forward proof points, success, and so one of the areas we talked about how, important as nature it brings towards healing, not just, from ourselves, and how it's important around our health. And so really bringing forward examples of people that were able to, on the art, especially with Liza, when you mentioned about arts and the importance of the environment, incorporating the arts and kind of bringing that together, and using someone who just standing your feet in the ocean and listening to the waves, what that does to your mind, what that does to your body, right? So it's really, and having someone be able to articulate this success and the results and the positive impact that it does to healing yourself. So that's
beautiful.
One of the discussion areas we discussed.
Right. So there can be all kinds of levels of people who might be interested in collaborating too, because when you think of the environment, again, you think of the obvious, sustainability and that kind of thing in nature, but the healing aspect, I might not have thought of that. What about people who are thinking about what nature and the environment provides other than sustainability? Wow, love it. Anyone else?
I think Frances had her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Frances.
No, it's lovely to see everyone. Thank you. And familiar faces. Yes, we had a lot of passion in our group. And I think what was really exciting was that everything we talked about is possible. And the solutions are all there. In fact, Marie is in the group, and she's got an intentional community underway. And Michelle is passionate about food waste and stopping that from going to landfills. And then we discovered, our commonalities. Of course, there's all this intersection, and I'd like to see stopping construction waste going to landfills. And of course, there's ways that we can all team up, as Marie has. She's teamed up with, other people, and hence this community. And there's policies coming into place by different municipalities. And so by teaming up, and with this passion, there's just anything's possible.
Beautiful. Yes, dwell in possibility, and partners from all over, like you said, intentional partners that intersect at some common passion. Beautiful.
Making it bigger than yourself, like taking it to another level.
Beautiful. Deb, did you raise your hand? Alcandino? No? Okay. Hi, nice to see you. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Donna. Oh, unmute, please. Donna, you're muted. There you go.
There we go. We had so much fun, and it was such a great discussion. I really liked what Hannah brought in right away, was getting educated around the environment, what exactly was the project and what was important to do around it. And we talked about creativity and the science behind the environmental project that we would be working on, that we would like stakeholders and people involved that were flexible, that brought educational elements to it. A big piece that Charmaine brought in, which was really important, was involving the schools and the children in your area at that level, because they bring a passion and an enthusiasm, and they bring it home. They bring it home every night when they come home. And that it needs to be generational. To do something for the future, we have to know the history and bring the wisdom from the history into the creation of the future. I think I nailed it about that. Hannah, Charmaine, anything I missed?
Perfect.
History, creativity, and I love the educational piece about raising awareness with children. That's an important part of my core value. And Pam and I spoke of that in this instance as well, you know, in educating children around the environment. And just quickly, I remember talking to Robert Bateman once, and he said, if more children spent time in nature, there would be more naturalists. And that really always stayed with me, you know, so beautiful. I love that. How are we doing for time, Pam? Is that?
We need to move forward. It's
Okay.
time for Christina.
Christina, over to you. Thanks everyone for your share.
Oh, okay. All right, so let me just get all set up here. And I'll go. The joys of technology. Okay. I'll put this in present mode here. Can you see my screen?
We can, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I just wanted to say hello, everyone. It's a pleasure seeing some familiar faces and some new faces this evening. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Christina O'Reilly, and I'm the Director of PR and Communications at Female Wave of Change Canada, as Pam alluded to earlier. And I really hope everyone enjoyed today's session. So thank you, Charmaine. It was wonderful. And as you know, though, putting something together like this, and I can just realize that my screen is probably not showing. Sorry about that. Putting together these types of meetings and conversations take a collaborative effort. It really does require a lot of people coming together and putting something like this. So one of the benefits of becoming a member of Female Wave of Change Canada is that you are actively involved in helping us shape, lead initiatives like this, and hopefully putting together many more of these types of conversations in the future. And one of the points that Charmaine mentioned earlier was relationships, and building connections. And that's one of the amazing opportunities that we do here at Female Wave of Change Canada, is we build relationships, we collaborate, and we make connections. But we can't do it alone. We need change makers. We need more to help to join us and come along. And we have big goals, but we can't do it alone. So if you becoming a member, it allows you to participate in creating guest blogs, co-create events. And these are just some of the examples that you can help us. And also that you can also participate in making a difference. We're very much a mission-driven organization, but we're also action-oriented. All right, and these are the four pillars, or pods, as we like to call them, which I absolutely love: economy, education, environment, humanity, and health and wellness. So we really need change makers to help us move some of our ideas forward, and also bring new ideas to the table. So if you go to Female Wave Change Canada, you can find more information about what you can expect for the membership. So it's $50 Canadian, as well as for founding members, it's $100 for a limited time. And I hope to see many of you joining us next month. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Does anybody have any questions about the organization or about membership? Anybody? Don't see any hands. I guess it was very clear, Christina. Thank you very much for the awesome slides. So,
Donna has a question.
Oh, Donna, sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
That's a wonderful slide presentation that Christina did. And I'd love to know if we could get a copy of it. Like I belong to an organization, Penticton and South Okanagan area here, that Penticton Women in Business. And I'd love to be able to bring this to them in a meeting and see if we can foster some more membership from my area.
I think that's a great idea, Donna, and thanks for offering to do that. It's a very creative idea. So I think, yeah, Christina, you be okay with that?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to share.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'll put you in touch with Donna then. I've got her email.
Thanks.
I've also wanted to share a few times, and I haven't because I didn't have the time to like find the important information about the group that I wanted to pass on. So this would definitely be useful because, you know, every once in a while someone comes to mind and is like, oh yeah, I should, you know, let them know. So that would definitely be useful to have on hand.
Great. Well, I'll just put it out because we have some members on board. Maybe it'll make sense to send all the members the slides, and if you wanted to use them, you could. Does that make sense?
It'd be cool if we could do that.
Yeah, rather than saying, oh, Marie and Tom. We'll send it out probably in the next week or so then, and feel free, because then that's all about what Charmaine was talking about, consistent messaging, right? This is where we're following the rules here, right? Thank you.
Great ideas. Thank you.
Great ideas. Thanks very much. Okay. Somebody else?
Pam,
Jan, want to share? Sorry.
Charmaine, if you're open to this recording being shared outside of Wave of Change, then and there are people that I invited to be a part of this that didn't show, and I'd love to share, but I mean, this is your intellectual property. And so if you're open to it being shared, having that slideshow in it is a great way for us to be able to help promote Female Wave of Change to everybody that gets to have the benefit of seeing this brilliant presentation.
And I'm going to thank you for that, Janet. I'm going to default to you, Pamela, and Michelle and Barb, because I'm fine with whatever. I just wasn't sure if you're able to share the recordings out of the group. If you are, I'll just leave that with you. And I can talk about this stuff till the cows come home. I'm really passionate about it. So I'll default to you, whatever is what you do for your organization sharing.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan, for that. We do have a YouTube channel, and usually we do a little bit of editing, particularly on the front end. So it'll probably be about within a week, we should have it up on YouTube. But what I can do is if I forget to send it to you, let me know, Jan. Just ping me and I'll send it to you, okay? And usually after the meetings, I do send out the YouTube videos so people can see you if you want to refer back to it, or there are sometimes other folks who registered, but they weren't able to show up. So yeah. Okay then. So I'd like to first of all thank you, Charmaine, so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us this evening. Loved all the information you gave to us in the stories, and all the interaction you inspired, and some really cool things came out in the small groups as well. So thank you all, everyone, for your openness and flexibility and your wonderful collaboration and sharing. Really appreciate that. That's what it's all about. Collaboration, it is in fact one of the qualities of an authentic feminine leader. So, and creativity as well, which is all part of these kinds of processes. So again, thank you so much, Charmaine.
Thank you. And thank you all for your participation and the ideas you shared. As you were all talking, I'm thinking, I can't write fast enough. You're writing a book here with all the great gems you were sharing. So thank you for all your engagement and the idea sharing. It was fantastic. Rich conversation happens in this group is what I'm learning. I'm new, and I'm seeing every time it's really rich dialogue.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what we aim for sure. Now, I'll just like to say that our next meeting is going to be September 15th. We've decided to not have monthly meetings in July and August. That said, we'd love to have some of you join us who aren't yet members, because we're planning to organize a small group this summer to start doing some brainstorming about a collaborative project to roll out in the fall. I don't anticipate it'd take a lot of time, but if you're interested in being part of that, you need to be a member, just so you know. And our featured guest at our September 15th meeting is Annamie Paul. Some of you may know her. She's a Canadian politician, activist, and lawyer, and she's leader of the National Green Party. So she's going to be our guest in September, and I'm sure we're going to have some rich discussion and questions. So be thinking about some questions you can ask her. And yes, and what else can I say? It's always a treat for me to see who shows up at these meetings and to meet new women and also to see familiar faces. So thank you all for helping us build this community. It's as you heard from Ingrid, you can tell she's got a big heart and she has a big dream, and she's also very creative. She's a software engineer, if you can believe it. Anyway, that's her background in corporate engineering. Who knew, right? Anyway, she's so committed, and she has generated and attracted women, amazing women from so many different countries. In the first 9 months that I was part of this group, I have met people from radio and television in South Africa, mining engineers from Namibia, financial services folks from Kenya. In fact, in several African countries, financial services women, the women got together, and what they did is they provided a financial literacy training program for market traders, African market traders, so that enabled them to get their own mortgages and buy their own homes. So this group, as Christina and others have mentioned before, we're all about action. Yes, we want to generate conversation and creative ideas, and we also want to have concrete things happening on the ground. So that, I think, is something that differentiates us from other groups out there. So anyway, thank you all for coming tonight and for the rich discussion, and hope to see some of you join us soon. And also looking forward to the September 15th meeting. So save the date. Same time, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.